Hello everyone, Big Carl here. In today's video, we're going to talk about ISBOXER Virtualization, clickbars, action target groups, macros, and how I use all of that to accomplish my healing and my cooldown tracking and usage. And then we'll also touch on the add-ons that I use to help accomplish this, and how it all just comes together. And I feel like it works very nice, looks good. And it's nice to be able to use this from any of the screens. So let's get started. I want to start off by just giving a little demonstration with my 5-man team here. I've got my Hunter, Warlock, Boomkin, and Disc Priest. And you can see there's a whole bunch of skills here on the right-hand side that I'm monitoring. And so we're going to kind of cover this and give a little demonstration. So here we go. So if I need to do a stun, I can just click the icon and then you'll see a stun go out. We get the Hunter stun there. There we go. Defensive cooldowns. I can click that and we go into that defensive cooldown. We can use it on the Warlock, Boomkin, pain suppression. Now this is set up to be used in conjunction with healing. So whoever is the focus target for the healer, if I click this, they will get pain suppression put on them. So that works in conjunction with the click bar with healing. I can use all the different utility schools, like we got Bloodlust for the party from the Hunter pet. If the Hunter needs to use Aspect of the Turtle, there he goes. So you can kind of get the gist of how all of this works. It's showing the active duration, then it grays out and shows the cooldown duration, which is really useful. I have it set up for the same way across my DPS and tank. So I have, we got our stuns in the first column, our defensive cooldowns in the second column, self heals in the third column, interrupts in the fourth, utility in the fifth and sixth. My healer's set up a little bit differently. So he's got a defensive cooldown for the whole party with the shield. He's got pain suppression for his focus target. Desperate Pair to heal his self-heal, so that lines up with everybody else. Instead of an interrupt, it's just another cooldown for the healer. Mass Dispel, which is really nice. Boom. Right on top of the priest, dispels the whole group. Shadow Fiend to get some extra mana. The way I have Innervate set up, it's going to innervate the healer all the time. Soulstone is set up to go on the healer. Rebirth is set up in such a way that it will get spammed and it'll battle res the first dead player on the list. And so that I kind of use that as soon as somebody goes down, just click that, boom, they're right back up. And thanks to the Emma add-on, who automatically accepts reses, they're instantly resed. I don't have to do anything. So it's really handy. And that's pretty much how all of my cooldowns are going. Healing's kind of working the same way. So I have a dispel window in the middle. You can kind of see the outline. To the left of that is the actual healing spot. To the right of that, that is for the active slot to be able to target and right click on a unit frame and have that normal functionality so I don't miss out on using that. So if my tank started needing a little bit more spot heals than what the normal Disc Priest heals will do, I can click on my tank. The healer now focuses that target and starts throwing out heals. I can then use pain suppression on the focus target, and then it will cast pain suppression. There it goes. Boom. Right. The healer, I don't have to do anything but click one time who needs to be healed. That target will start to get healed. And then after a certain time frame that I have set up in ISBOXER, which I'll get into more detail later, ends, it automatically goes back to doing his normal DPS rotation that is healing the whole party. All right, so pretty straightforward there. The center is for my dispels. If a target needs to be dispelled, you can see there, it just did the dispel. I also use it for buffing, so if I need to buff the party, I can do that. There we go. We just got Fortitude buffed out. So it makes it a little easier, to handle some of that stuff. All right, so that's the in-game demonstration of how all of that works. Now we're going to kind of transition over into the add-ons that I use to help set all of this up as well. So the biggest one that I use is Exorcist Raid Tools. If you haven't used this before, it's a really handy tool that you can set up different grids. There's templates on how they look. I use these big buttons down here as my main template. And that gives me the ability to really control what I look for, and it can be easily changed on the fly. So if I need to swap out a skill, let's say I drop the Warlock for a Monk, right? I can just throw in some Monk skills that I want to track, set to priority, and it'll automatically throw that Monk into that slot with the skills. And then so the big part of that is that priority. So I have set a lot of skills to favorite just to keep it nice and clean. So obviously my tank is always in slot 1. So I have his priority is 100%. So any skill that I select from the hunter or from the paladin or my tank that I'm currently playing will have top priority and be in this top row. My hunter, which is currently in slot 2, it's got 50%. Slot 3 is 20%. Slot 4, I'm sorry, it's 30%. Slot 4 is 20%. Slot 5 is as low as it'll go, 1-2%, whatever. And so that gives you the priority of where they're going to fall. And as you add and remove skills and want to monitor different things, they will stay in the correct list in the priority list here. And then the way that I do that here is on the right hand side, I have my Control-Shift-1 through equal signs set up is skills. And so if I change a skill here, all I have to do is put that skill in the corresponding bar here on the right hand side. And then that is lines up with my ISBOXER profile for the cooldowns. And then I'll get into that a little bit here. So if I wanted to add skills, I just add another button to the cooldown, monitor that skill, and then throw that skill into this bar here. So that's really handy. The other bar that I have right here, this is my follow status bar from Emma. So that'll show, to make sure that everybody is following whatever current target I have selected. And then they'll target or break target. And then Emma also monitors their current active skill that they're using. So you can probably saw that flying across the screen there. Whatever skill they use, it'll show it right there. So I can make sure that they are actually attacking and using the skills that I'm expecting them to use at that time. So let's kind of dive in just a little bit here to ISBOXER and how I've accomplished some of this stuff. All right, so we've got ISBOXER pulled up here. And I guess what we'll start with is, let's start with my healing. Okay, the first thing I had to do is I needed to make some healing macros in ISBOXER so that I could activate those with key maps. And so we're going to go to my healing macro set here. And as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. I have one macro that clears focus. And then I have a macro for each slot. So it's just focus slot 1. This is case sensitive. So when you do these, make sure that it's all caps. And then you just do that for however many slots that you're playing. And that's going to be in your unit frame. And then that gets called from a key map. Or a mapped key, sorry. All right, so I just have those 5 slots. Oops. That needs to be deleted. There we go. Then you can come down to my actual key maps. And so then I have a healing key map. And then this might look a little weird, but you have do focus slot 1, and then you have focus slot 1. So do focus slot 1 is actually going to do some virtualization in it. Okay. So what we're saying in this do focus slot 1 is that it's going to change priest's single target, that mapped key of priest single target. That's the name of the mapped key. It's going to virtualize that now into focus slot 1. Okay. So again, that's going to change my priest single target, which is sending 2. Okay. That's getting sent 2. It's going to virtualize that mapped key from priest single target to focus slot 1. Okay. So when we expand focus slot 1, there's some things going on here, right? There's 3 steps. All right. In those 3 steps, this is where all this healing functionality comes into play, right? So the very first step, it's going to focus slot 1. So I can still just continue to press my DPS key of 2222222. I click in the unit on my unit frame to heal my tank. Just the priest gets sent this do focus slot 1, which then virtualizes its single target rotation to this mapped key of focus slot 1. So hope everybody's following me here, right? It's a little bit of virtualization. We're going down that rabbit hole. All right. So follow me here. Priest single target gets virtualized into focus slot 1. Right. So the first step of focus slot 1 is to run that macro from game helpers to focus slot 1. Then it immediately goes on to step 2, which is calling another mapped key. It's going to do healing in the DPS rotation. All right. It's going to stay on this step for 6 seconds. So you can adjust that based on the content that you're doing. You know, is typically focused healing. Is it sustained? Is it bursty? You can adjust that up and down as you need for the content that you're doing. For me, I find a nice sweet spot for 6 seconds in the content that I'm doing now. When I move into mythics later on, that might go into like 10 seconds. Just depends, right? You can adjust it pretty easily here. After that 6 seconds, it moves on to step 3. And you're going to see here, it's going to run that other macro of clear focus. So now the healer doesn't have a focus target anymore. And then it's going to virtualize priest single target back to the original mapped key. So it's no longer going to be calling this focus slot 1. It's going to go back to calling priest single target sending 2. So the way that is set up is I've got 2 macros on their bars. Okay. So 22222 is the main DPS macro that gets spammed for priest single target. It's going to run this macro. And you saw that it in step 2 in this ISBOXER mapped key that it calls another mapped key. So in that step 2, it's calling do healing, right? So let's go look at that. In my DPS rotation, I have a healing mapped key. And this is where some of the magic lies, right? It's calling to do this mapped key to all of my healers. So it doesn't matter if I have a druid, paladin, shaman, priest, monk, healer. It is going to be sending these mapped keys to the appropriate class that is in my healer ATG. So I told you this is a rabbit hole, but it makes a lot of sense and keeps it really clean. And you don't have to have a bunch of hotkeys that you're pressing in game. All of this functionality as I'm either just pressing 22222 and then clicking some icons or clicking some unit frames. So it's kind of mixing like the standard DPS of using macros and things of that nature, and then click healing from healers, but it's all done through mapped keys and virtualization. So it keeps it real clean, focusing on really just movement and clicking the people that need to be healed. I'm not having to try to remember, okay, well, this heal is left click, this heals right click, this heals shift left click, this heals shift right click. I don't have to think about any of that. I just click who needs to be healed and it runs through that. So let's follow this rabbit hole a little bit again, right? So we talked about from start to finish here, my priest is always getting sent 2 and he's running that DPS macro. Every time I press 2, it sends 2 to the priest. I click my tank that needs to be healed. All right. It runs this do focus slot 1, which does that virtualization, changes that priest single target to focus slot 1, which is right here, which runs the macro to focus that slot, moves on to step 2, calls that other mapped key, which then calls to do priest healing. All right, so we move to that priest healing, which then sends 4. So that's where that second macro came in, right? I showed you that. We've got this other macro here. This is the focused healing macro. So it's basically virtualizing 2 to 4. And all I continue to do is still press 2 on my keyboard. And so it'll run through this focus macro for 6 seconds. Once it's done that, it goes on to step 3 of virtualizing that pre-single target back to pre-single target. So it does that original map key. So it automatically ends the healing, goes back to DPSing, and I don't have to do anything else. Pretty cool, I think. And so you probably see that these are all self. So virtualization really only works with target of self or target of all. You can't do like an action target group here and say, okay, we're going to virtualize priest single target to priest. The action target group of priest. It just doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why. It just doesn't work. So they always have to be self or all. Well, obviously we don't want all of our team to start getting spammed for. So we leave it at self and we use the click bar to control the targeting of these mapped keys. Right? So we go to the click bar and then the button 1 is sent to the action target group of healers, right? So I have my role ATGs, right? Action target groups. These are targets of an action, and you can have multiple people in those groups. So I have my priest is in here. If I had other healers from different teams, I could just throw them all in here so that this is a universal setup. Keep this in mind. All of this is a universal setup. It doesn't matter. I can immediately go to the wizard, make a new 5-man team, throw them into the correct action target groups, and this will just all work. It's really nice, right? So I just throw my healers into the healing ATG, and then now he is the target of all of these click bars, right? So do focus slot 1. When I click this, gets sent to whoever is in the healer ATG. So I hope that all makes sense with that virtualization, right? It all pretty much starts here. I click this button, do focus slot 1, gets sent to whoever's in that healer ATG. And again, do focus slot 1 tells me that the pre-single target is now going to be focus slot 1. Focus slot 1 is going to run that focus slot 1 macro. It's going to do that healing DPS rotation, which is now going to send 4 to the healer. And then after 6 seconds, it's going to go on to step 3 and clear that focus target and set pre-single target back to the original map key. So that's how I do healing. I know I told you it was a rabbit hole, but once you grasp that concept and follow that chain down, it makes a lot of sense and keeps it very, very clean. When we go down to managing my click bars for cooldowns, I really, really like this because it makes it super easy to change on the fly what skills I want to be activated, what skills I want to monitor. And it doesn't matter if I throw a new character into a new slot or I make a new group. This will work for every single character set that I add to ISBOXER without any work or any change to the click bars. So let's go down and look at this click bar. So I have a 5-man click bar monitoring 6 skills per class, right? So we got six buttons by 5 rows. And so as you can see here, they're doing the same kind of thing. It's calling slot 1 is going to get do cooldown 1. Right? So that's the action that's being called when I click this button, do cooldown 1. and it only gets sent to ISBOXER 1. So let's go look at what cooldown 1 is. All right, so we go back up here, and I've got a mapped key or key map for cooldowns with a bunch of mapped keys. So we're going to look at do cooldown 1. This might look familiar to you. It is virtualizing the single target for each of the different classes to cooldown 1. So we're going to look at a paladin, right? So paladin single target and paladin key map is now cooldown 1. Right? So we open up cooldown 1. It does control shift 1 self, and then goes on to step 2 after 1.5 seconds. So that kind of helps with if we happen to be in the middle of a global cooldown when I activate this, because this will be spammed, sent to that window. Then it moves on to step 2, which again, this should look familiar. It is going to reset that virtualization of paladin single target back to its original mapped key of paladin single target. Now you may be wondering, well, don't all of these classes all of a sudden get virtualized because it's calling this from all of them? No, if you look, they're all target self, right? So only the recipient of the button gets sent all of that information, which here it is, ISBOXER 1, right? So this should look very similar to the focus healing. It should make a lot of the same sense, right? Whoever the target of the button is only going to be the one that gets sent the virtualization information, because again, virtualization only really works on target of self or target of all. I've had some very weird interactions and results from having it sent to action target groups, but most times it just doesn't work. So if it's target self, you can control the target from the click bar to be able to do that virtualization. And this is all handled the exact same way for every single one. IS2 gets sent, do cooldown 1. And what's nice about this, because it's just ISBOXER slot 2, it doesn't matter if I change a character set and add this click bar to the character set, because it's slot 2 is slot 2. It's not a specific character name. That's not an ATG. It's always going to work for that second character no matter who they are. And so let's add something, right? I'm claiming it's easy, right? I've been saying it's super easy to add and to do this on the fly. So let's add something. All right, let's go in here. I want to add a 7th skill. All right, let's say I want to start monitoring 7 skills now. All right, I just kick this up to 7. And now I have a button here that's just blank for each target, right? So I'm going to click that, do this real quick on each one of them. All right. And we're going to set up an extra cooldown. So let's go up to my cooldowns. All right. I've got do cooldown 7. We're going to just copy this and we're going to paste it. We're going to rename that 7. Boom. So now I have do cooldown 7. I'm going to take cooldown 6, copy it, paste it. We're going to name that 7. So now we have cooldown 7 and do cooldown 7. All right. So then we come in here. And then all we have to do is go like this. Change that to cooldowns. And then cooldown 7. Hit OK. Let's update that by clicking out and clicking back into it. There, this should be a little bit easier now. All right. We're going to go down here to 7. Click. Give me some room. All right. So we're going to click here, 7. I'm just going to repeat that process all the way down. Cancel there. All right, we're going to do this on each step. All right, 3 more to go. 2 more. 1 more. All right. Click there, it's all updated. So now we come here to this, and we're going to change that to Control-Shift-7. And then this can stay the same because this is just getting that original mapped key sent back to it. All right. So we've set the groundwork. So now let's go back to that click bar where we added that extra button. Okay. So we have our extra button. So remember, we got to set the target of the slot. So it's IS slot 1. We're going to run the cooldown, and we're going to run do cooldown 7. All right. And we're going to do that for each one of these buttons. So this will be slot 2. We come down to cooldowns, cooldown 7. All right. Slot 3. Go down to cooldowns, cooldown 7. This will be slot 4. Cooldowns, cooldowns, and then cooldown 7s. And then finally slot 5. Right. Cooldowns, cooldowns, cooldown 7s. All right. Now we have our buttons. It's calling those mapped keys and going to the correct target. Right? We want to set them clear so that we can use the in-game add-on to monitor these new skills. There we go. All right. So now we're going to come up here, and we've got just to double check everything. Okay, we go down to cooldowns. Cooldown 7 is going to send Control-Shift-7 to self, and then it's going to revert all of them back to their single target. This should be doing 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Yep. So this is all saying that their single target's going to be cooldown 7. So that's it. That's all I have to do in ISBOXER to add another cooldown to be monitored, right? So now I can save that. Nope. And then I can export that. Now I'll export out to Interspace. And then we can go back in game. All right. So from here, now you can see my new buttons are there, but there's no skills. So we can open up XRT. Let's go to Paladin, and let's find it. There's Paladin. What's another skill that I want to try to monitor from Paladin? Well, let's monitor Divine Shield. All right, I'm going to say Divine Shield goes into column 7. All right, and it's got 100% priority, so that it shows up. So then I need to activate column 7. Template General Enable, and boom, there's my Divine Shield. It's added, right? So all I have to do here now is add Divine Shield to Control-Shift-7. And now when I click this button, it's going to use Divine Shield. There we go. Monitoring the duration, monitoring the cooldown. Then we can do that for the hunter as well. So let's go here. All right. Spells, hunter. What's another skill that we might want to monitor for the hunter? Let's see. Aspect of the cheetah. Maybe I want him to run fast, right? So let's go to column 7. He should be priority 50. So there he is. Boom, he's in that last spot. Then all we do is we go to the hunter, add aspect of the cheetah. to that spot. I accidentally triggered it, but you get the point. It's monitoring the duration, then it'll monitor the cooldown. Warlocks. Let's see, what should we monitor from the warlock? There's not. Oh, Healthstone. Let's monitor Healthstone. There is a way to do that. Covenants, Ascendants, items. No. Where do I do Healthstones? Those are spells. Let's figure something out for now. There is a way to add. Like you can search a spell by if you know the ID, and then you can search that spell up. So let's just say Ritual of Summoning. We'll put that into slot 7. Priority down to like in the 30s. And then remove add. There it is. Boom. We'll go to the Boomkin next. Oh, we actually have to add that skill in there. So let's go to the Warlock, and we'll add Ritual of Summoning. Okay. Now I can click this, and there's the summoning. Everybody can click on it. I don't know who's targeted. Somebody's gonna get. Oh, there it is. Yep. Boom. Have our Ritual Summoning Stone. Right. So you guys are getting the drift here, right? How easy it is to make this and change this on the fly, and to expand it and kind of really make it your own. Let's do Ursul's Vortex. All right, and we'll do that as a 7. Okay. Priority down in the teens or 20s. Boom, boom. There he is. Go over to the Druid. Now, for this is a ground target. So this is really cool. All right, so this skill, you click it, you have to place it somewhere, right? So we're going to go into GSE. I'm going to do a new macro. We're going to name that. Oops. Helps to turn off text. There we go. Come down here. Cast at play. Oop. At. Gosh, typing skills bad. Player, and then text. All right. There's variables that you can create and make in GSE too. I could say the spell Ursul's Vortex is now just UV, and then I could say here cast UV, and then it knows what to cast. All right, so we're gonna save that. We're gonna create an icon for that. Create icon. Boom, we're gonna put that down there. And boom, it casts it at the feet. So you're gonna see the active duration and then the cooldown coming up. And then finally the priest healer. Let's add something for the priest. Let's add Leap of Faith. All right, we're gonna put that into column 7. Lowest priority. There it is, Leap of Faith. Again, we're gonna make that a macro. Oh, that's Emma. Gonna make that a macro. Faith. Cast. Oops. Cast. We're gonna do at focus. All right. Where'd it go? There it is. Create an icon. Put that on there. All right. And then from here, do this. See if this works right. Am I too close to activate it? I've actually never used, oh, I did I put it? I must have messed it up. Let's look at that again. I've actually never used Leap of Faith. I did mess up. Where did oh, 2 S's. There it is. There. Why isn't that working? Let's see if the macro works. The macro doesn't work.
I need to target something first.
How does Leap of Faith work? Oh, so it helps if everything is fully set up. So if we look at the healer, the issue we were running into is the keybinds weren't completed. So that's something to keep in mind, that your keybinds for all of your keybinds for all of your bars are set up so that you can handle all of this. So let's see here. We'll go to action bars, keybind mode, click, and that would be, or this one would be Control Shift 7. Control Shift 7. Boom. There we go. Save. All right. There we go. So that'll work there. So that's why that button wasn't working. So you get it, right? It's pretty straightforward on how to expand this to monitor more skills, more abilities, different classes, right? Because it's all targeted by slot, and then just calling a couple keystrokes. It's easy and flexible. That's the key, right? You know, when you have 200 plus characters and you're mixing and matching and making new character sets, it's nice to be able to just throw the skills in there that you want to monitor, and then you're good to go. Now, you can set XRT up on one big profile, right? So let's say I set up all of my tanks here. I can set them all up right now and start, monitoring 7 skills from my Death Knight tanks, monitor 7 from my warrior tanks, monitor 7 from druid tanks, whatever, and set those priorities so that I have just one gigantic big XRT profile. And then when I add that character set and start that new character set, that's already done too. So you really don't have a lot of down the road setup needed once you've set it up properly, and then you start loading in your character sets and just loading the profile, you're good to go. So I know it was a little bit of a rabbit hole. I know there was a little bit of rambling going on, but I hope this answered a lot of your guys' questions on how I do this. If you do have any other questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them. Or you can always catch me on Discord and ISBOXER, which I'll have linked in the description below, so that you can reach out to us and I can try to answer some questions there for you as well. Thanks as always for watching the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Ring that bell and subscribe so that you can see any future content that I come out with, multi-boxing videos and ISBOXER setup videos. Thanks a lot, guys, and have a good one.